All right, you guys, happy Monday. Also, happy belated Easter. I hope you guys had a wonderful Easter weekend. I definitely did. He is risen indeed. I had given up gluten, so that meant no bread for all of Lent. I also gave up sweets. So, yesterday I completely indulged, to say the least. Cake, cookies, lasagna, you name it. It was wonderful. And speaking of Easter, sede vacante. That is Latin for the seat is vacant. Yes, the Pope has passed away. We're going to speak about that, obviously. Plus, in case you missed it, Roseanne Barr did, after our show on Thursday, issue an apology for saying that she was going to knock me the F out. So we'll talk about that. But first, I am totally seized by the updates in the Ryan and Blake case. I think a lot of people may have missed it because it was Easter weekend and we were all doing, family time and things that were more important. But in case you did miss what transpired on Friday, the case is now solved. And it's so much more ugly and more psychotic than any of us could have possibly envisioned. Essentially, she got caught filing a sham lawsuit. Power tripping. This has got to be white collar crime. Let's get started. Welcome back to Candace. You guys, this is the last full week of the podcast before I go on leave. Crazy, just crazy to think about that. Like I said, it's going to be so sad. Sad for everyone except for Ryan Reynolds and Harley Pasternak and Blake Lively and Emmanuel Macron. They're probably counting down the days on a calendar like they're going on a Disney trip. Whatever. I'm going to miss you guys. They're not going to miss me. Where to begin with this? So I'm assuming that regarding this Blake, Ryan, Justin case, that things may have just transformed from civil to criminal, and I'll tell you why. And like I said, in case you somehow missed the updates over the weekend, don't worry. Sit down because this is going to be wild. It's unbelievable. Don't worry because I'm also going to unpack it very slowly. Of course, I've made a little timeline to make things easier because you likely need a refresher. There hasn't been much movement in this case, but without question, this is the most explosive update since it all began. It's the final piece of the puzzle. It pulls everybody in. The New York Times, the PR firms, Brian Friedman must be having an absolute field day. And by the way, I want to say this could have all been avoided if they had listened to me when I told them, drop the lawsuits. Just drop. When you know you are doing nothing good, get out of doing the nothing good as soon as possible, especially when the whole world is watching and you've got mommy sleuths on the case. So remember, we had to work backwards with everything. We didn't, if you were me at least, I didn't know who Justin Baldoni was. I didn't know Colleen Hoover. I didn't watch the movie. I just saw a crazy lawsuit being filed. A CRD complaint, looked shady, sounded weird. I'm not a big Me Too person. And then we kind of had to go backwards of like, wait, what happened? And then we were surprised because we saw the New York Times data and it looked like this was some sort of a plot. But there were still some elements that didn't make sense, which is when Blake and Ryan began colluding with the New York Times, we didn't understand how exactly Stephanie Jones' PR was able to give these messages to the New York Times ahead of time. Like there was this missing piece of what Stephanie Jones was saying, that she was complying with a subpoena. So I'm going to slowly remind you of who she is and why it's actually the most relevant piece of the entire puzzle. Okay, so this is the PR chart. They start making this movie and Jones Work PR, which is run by Stephanie Jones, she's the coffee and Adderall is life woman, okay, is doing the PR for Wayfarer Studios. That's Justin Baldoni, Steve Sarowitz. She is doing, her firm is doing the PR for this film. But she's not personally managing that PR. She has someone under her named Jennifer Abel, who you see there, and she is dealing with this quote unquote smaller account. And by smaller account, I mean that while Stephanie Jones is out flying around with Jeff Bezos and his soon to be wife, Jennifer Abel is dealing with this little baby account that only earns them $20K a month for the firm. Jennifer Abel decides that she wants to leave this firm and she wants to start her own firm. Justin Baldoni and Steve Sarowitz are like, we are going with you if you're going independent because you're the only one we even know at this firm. And we're happy to stay your little account. And Stephanie Jones is like, nah, that is not happening. I am Stephanie Jones. I'm married to a bigwig over at WME. No one leaves Stephanie. I mean, we're talking like toxic relationship with your employer. Doesn't matter what the reason is that someone wants to leave. they want to leave. Let them go. Goodbye. Okay. You can't have this sort of a relationship with your employees. Like, but she was under a lot of pressure and she thought, well, does this mean she's going to steal more clients from me? I made Jennifer Abel. No one leaves me and takes one of my clients. Okay. So, despite the fact that Jennifer Abel gave 6 weeks notice, like I said, she was going to leave in July. She's like, I'm not going to leave until August to give you time. Right before she's about to leave, Steph Jones calls her in. She's got a lawyer. She's got the, chief level. I think it was the CEO there. She's got security. And she's like, we need your phone because we have a subpoena that we're complying with. And we're taking your personal phone. Jennifer Abel's crying. She's like, I've had this phone number since high school. What do you mean? It has all my pictures, my Facebook, everything. And she's like, nah. Hand over your phone right now. It's going down like this, okay? So she hands over her phone, and there you have it. Suddenly, these text messages that are in her Jennifer Abel's personal phone end up in the New York Times. I had to just give you that backstory because you have to remember why it's so important. Now, the million-dollar question for all of us that were looking at this was, what subpoena was Stephanie Jones complying with? What? There was no lawsuit. This went down in August. Right? There was no lawsuit until December. What subpoena was she complying with? Well, we finally have our answer, and it's positively shocking. Check out this headline. It reads, this is in the Daily Mail, revealed Blake Lively's super shady legal tactic that set off the war with Justin Baldoni before he even had a clue. Okay? I'm now going to tell you how they managed this hat trick. And they're even it's even crazier. And there are more lies that are being told on top of it. So we've created this new timeline for you so that you understand this. On July 10th, 2024, Jennifer Abel tenders her resignation. She's supposed to leave on August 23rd. On August 21st, that's when Stephanie Jones confiscates Jennifer Abel's phone. Okay. We're going to skip the August 29th one. We're going to get to that later. Then on September 27th, a sham lawsuit is filed. Now, what sham lawsuit are we talking about? I want to skip ahead and show you this because what went down, and I'm going to tell you this is me reading into the situation now, was they took her phone, they were going to hand it to the New York Times, and then somebody in the group, maybe it's Ryan Reynolds, I think it's Ryan Reynolds, says, whoa, was that legal? We have the messages and we're going to go to press and we're going to fight this in the New York Times, but can we get in trouble? And they all scrambled on the back end and they said, holy crap, we need to pretend that there's a real subpoena. Otherwise, you maybe just stole your employee's phone and now we're about to go to the New York Times. So they actually found a lawyer to give them advice and to tell them how to file a fake lawsuit so that they could use that fake lawsuit to pretend that they legally took Jennifer Abel's phone. Okay. So they find a woman and somehow they hit up this attorney, Samantha Katz. She is the moron that involved herself. She's got a face like a moron, right? She just looks like a moron. Decides to involve herself in this plot. This is the unknown individual that she works for Manat, Phelps, and Phillips, which is in New York City. And she devised with her clients to file this lawsuit, which prior to last week, nobody could find. And I'll tell you why, because look at this. The plaintiff is Van Zandt Incorporated. This is an LLC that is owned by Blake Reynolds that nobody would have known to look for. We're going to get more into the details of that, right? And a couple of things that you should know about the Van Zandt lawsuit. You're looking right here. There's no defendants listed. It just says the lawsuit lists 10 Jane Does. So they didn't list any defendants. It's just anonymous 10 people that we're filing a lawsuit against. We are Van Zandt LLC. The language throughout the lawsuit is intentionally vague because they never wanted the public to find it. Okay. They never wanted the public to find it. This is, again, they're trying to work backwards to legitimize something that they likely stole. So I'm going to read you directly from this sham lawsuit. It writes, it accuses the 10 Jane Does of, quote, they have participated and may continue to participate in efforts to harm plaintiff, including by failing to act in plaintiff's best interests, taking actions to their personal benefit at plaintiff's expense, failing to freely communicate with plaintiff regarding matters that impact plaintiff's business and reputation, and disclosing to third parties and failing to keep strictly confidential plaintiff's confidential and or private information. This is just words. Like Samantha Katz, okay, was just typing words so that they could get a lawsuit filed that they never intended to do anything but drop because for whatever reason, maybe there's a personal relationship there. She's trying to help out Steph Jones and Ryan and Blake to legitimatize this phone, which they have seized from Jennifer Abel, that they are about to go mainstream with the New York Times. And the fastest that she is able to get that lawsuit out is actually a month after they've already taken the phone. They filed this lawsuit in September, the end of September, September 27th, 2024. That then allows, so that you guys understand, that then allows them to give it, any lawyer at that point can just write a subpoena, right? So the way that subpoenas work, just to remind you guys, remember I got that crazy subpoena regarding Kanye's lawsuit. Okay, so somebody filed a lawsuit against Kanye, then their lawyer wrote a subpoena, and of course, a normal person is not going to comply with a ridiculous subpoena. So I'm not complying with that. I'm going to go, good luck getting a judge to sign off on this. You're not getting 5 years of my phone records because you had to watch The Batman with Kanye West. That doesn't, I'm not complying with that, right? But Stephanie, of course, then tried to pretend that she complied with it. But this was all being done backwards. She had already taken the phone. And that's why she never wanted to show anybody this subpoena, okay? That's why she was being weird, cagey. They wouldn't answer the lawsuit because they had hid it purposely because it's a sham. Now let's get into Van Zandt Incorporated, the plaintiff that is listed and then which they never wanted us to be able to uncover. So Van Zandt Incorporated has an address which is listed in New York City, 888 7th Avenue. Crazy. I worked in that building for 4 years. I literally worked in that. I know exactly where this is. I used to work in private equity in that exact building. So it's listed as 888 7th Avenue. You can see it says Blake Reynolds, Van Zandt Incorporated. It was formed in Delaware. That's very typical for an LLC. It says the type of business that they're engaged in is entertainment. We took a look at this and it looks like the firm that's working on behalf of them. Is it ML, Skylar? I'm going to have to look that up. I think it's like ML Company or whatever. Yeah, ML Company. And you can see that their agent that they have listed here that is to accept service on behalf of this LLC is Eric Binder, okay? So the only business, when you look back through these documents of Van Zandt Incorporated, this is where it's going to get crazy. The only business that it was recorded as having completed was receiving 2 shipments of furniture and fabric and doors, okay? It was sent to Blake and Ryan's home in Westchester County. Now, why would they use an LLC to get Blake's? Honestly, that's kind of tax evasion, to be honest, unless they have an office, which they're working from, which they could in their Westchester home, but like they're actors and entertainers, so that would be hard for me to imagine that they do. They're running it through an LLC for a tax benefit, which they're likely just doing renovations to their homes. Who knows? I'm not an IRS agent, but this is a really stupid thing to do. But they're running it through their business. They've received fabrics and doors to their Westchester home. Interestingly enough, it was shipped. That fabric and doors was shipped to the name, because they probably don't want to put their name on it, Molly Caro. Okay, this is the only business action. If you go through Van Zandt Incorporated documents, it shows you that this was shipped to Molly Caro on behalf of Blake. Now, who is Molly Caro? Very important. She is the PR officer that works for Vision PR. Let's pull up our PR thing again. Who's Vision PR? That's Leslie Sloan's PR firm. Who are Leslie Sloan's clients? Here's our chart. Leslie Sloan's clients are Blake and Ryan. So we have now just connected these 2 PR firms that were both involved in filing this sham lawsuit. Molly Caro was the person that works with this LLC, works with her clients. Leslie, like, this is a disaster for them. Molly Caro has since wiped all her socials. Girlfriend, if you are watching and looking, it is too late. The sleuths are on it. They've pulled everything. There's Reddit feeds. You are donezo. Just come forward and say that you did bad crimes. Just come to say, be like, I did bad crimes. My name is Molly Carroll, and I did bad stuff because I was high on the supply of A-listers and didn't think we'd get caught. Molly Carroll also has an interesting connection to Taylor Swift, which I love because she's also involved. I'm not buying this whole, she just wants to be private and her and her boyfriend are hiding. No, Taylor Swift is smart. She knows when she's too close to the sun. Molly Carroll is also listed as the producer for Taylor Swift's video, I Bet You'll Think About Me, which Taylor's version, which was directed by Blake Lively. And Molly Carroll is also listed as an extra in the All Too Well short film, which was Taylor Swift's other song, All Too Well, both directed by Blake Lively. So there's a connection here between all of the players that we have seen involved and this sham lawsuit. These are just the facts, okay? Case closed, my friends. We got Leslie Sloan PR, Vision PR, or her PR firm, rather, Vision PR, colluding with Stephanie Jones PR. And they file this sham lawsuit because they're going, crap, we took this phone and we got these messages, but we have to make sure it's above board. And so they got this Samantha Katz woman to file this lawsuit as quickly as humanly possible, because then they could pretend publicly that Stephanie Jones was just complying with a subpoena. No, you weren't just complying with the subpoena. You did something evil to your former employee because you're crazy. You're an insane person, okay? Because you think your employees are slaves and they can't leave. You never leave me. I'll ruin you on the way out. And then you colluded with the New York Times, and we still need to figure out who was friends with Megan Twohey, but there's no doubt that got started in October while pretending that they, had these messages because they were acting out of subpoena. So let's just look at that new timeline, because what's interesting is it made me think. I first said that there was an alibi angle here, and what initially made me think that they were working on an alibi and they were trying to go backwards were those shady text messages. You guys remember those shady text messages between Ryan and Leslie Sloan? And she starts and she's like, hey, it's Les. And I'm like, that's weird. And then Ryan goes through these like great lengths to be like, let's not respond to PR at all or engage. These are the messages. These were sent on August 29th. All right. And he's like not answering regarding this piece that had come out about Blake Lively's brother-in-law. And then he writes this, thank you for sending. He's saying this to Leslie Sloan. It's imperative that we stay silent on everything and speak to nobody. As I mentioned in Denmark before Blake's premiere, to not talk to anyone about any of these attacks on Blake. Just making sure you haven't done that at any point, ? I think this is sweet that Bart said this, but the only thing to do is to remain quiet for now. And I saw this message and I presented it to you guys. I think it was back in February. And I said, this is an alibi. Okay. They had already done something very bad and they were trying to work backwards in the event that their messages got subpoenaed. So that's August 29th. Let's now plug this in to the timeline so you realize like how caught Ryan and everybody is in this. So this is the new timeline. So yes, you have Jennifer Abel tenders her resignation July 10th. Stephanie Jones takes her phone on August 21st. Ryan sends the alibi message just a week later on August 29th. He's like, don't talk to the press. No, they were giving this to the New York Times. September 27th is the quickest they could get out that sham lawsuit. So it came after she took the phone. On October 1st is when the actual subpoena was issued, because you need the lawsuit first. And then you can say, haha, we have a subpoena. So the fastest that Samantha Katz could get that done was about 5 days or 4 days after the fact. So again, way beyond when she took that phone, which is why they refused to show us the actual literal subpoena. And also because the law firm could be in big trouble. On October 31st is when we were able to track that New York Times metadata. Then you have October 10th, which we're going to talk about. I just told you that the address that's listed. The address that's listed on Van Zandt LLC is 888 7th Avenue in New York City. Well, guess what? We also discovered that on December 10th, Liz Plank, who I told you Ryan very clearly was offering her something on the back end. Liz Plank files documents to update Liz Plank Productions for podcasting on December 10th, okay? And she is now using Ryan and Blake's agent. Here is the address. Look at this. Incredible. Liz Plank, look at that. Liz Plank, look at that address of her new manager. 888 7th Avenue, 4th floor. This same exact address for Van Zan Incorporated. So basically, we have like the best instincts ever. Like we just were right about everything. Liz Plank knew it was coming, sold him out because Ryan offered her something production-wise, podcasting-wise. Same exact maneuver Colleen Hoover did. They were offering them all of these things to turn, and this is what the craziest part, ready? On Justin Baldoni. Like, I wish there was a villain in this story. I wish it was like, I don't know, they were doing all of this to go after Ari Emanuel, like two power players that were going after each other and being psychotic. They were just trying to stomp on a butterfly that was sitting on a flower. Okay? Like, this is insane. Don't let that fall through the cracks. Like, do not forget, this was all to take down like the nicest person in the world. They're just like, yeah, I'm high on power and I can do this. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to collude the New York Times. We're going to file fake lawsuits. We're going to get subpoenas. We're going to get this all written out here. I mean, Stephanie Jones was really motivated by wanting to go after a former employee, which I give her a little more credit for. It's a little more sane, right? Blake was like, this can't be real press against me. Everybody loves me. A little credit there too. She's motivated by sheer stupidity. But Ryan Reynolds, evil. He's the ultimate villain in this story, okay? Because you know he's orchestrating all of this. He's buying out Liz. My agent will help you. 888 7th Avenue, fancy building. Yeah, well, my agent will help you. All you got to do, you have to know, is that we're about to file this lawsuit in 10 days because she did this on December 10th. So that means Liz Plank knew the CRD filing was coming out 10 days later. And the day before the CRD filing came out, they dropped their sham lawsuit, never to speak of it again. But now it's emerging. Why? Because Stephanie Jones is being sued. And she's holding on to this lie that she was complying with the subpoena. Well, factually, Stephanie, you're lying. Because we have the timeline. We know when you took her phone versus when that subpoena was actually signed off on. And the reason she's holding that subpoena close to her chest is because Samantha Katz, there's going to be some personal relationship there. And she's trying to protect that law firm. And I'll tell you why. Because I called Noah. Noah's my lawyer who has to field all my phone calls, right? And, same thing as he always says, that I'm not a part of this lawsuit. Yeah, we got it, Noah, but I am. So tell me what's going to happen, because this must now trip into criminality, right? You can't steal someone's phone and then try to legitimatize it. And this is why people hate rich people. I want to be very clear, because they do theft in a different way. Like if you were just a poor person and you stole a Snickers bar at a gas station, you're getting arrested. But like Stephanie Jones has like the money and the wealth to steal, and what's going to happen? She got to go to jail. This is white collar crime. They all should go spend some time in jail, in my personal opinion. I'm not saying like throw the key away. I'm just saying that like they should have to spend a couple of nights in jail, have somebody bail them out, and do the walk of shame, because it's theft. It's just white collar theft. I'm flying in the COO of the company theft from New York, and I have a security guard and I have a lawyer next to me, and I'm forcing you to sign these documents and hand me your phone because I'm lying to you and saying that I'm complying with the subpoena kind of theft. And that makes me sick. And that this is why people hate rich people. It's just too much. And all of this because of your ego, which is even crazier. At least maybe if somebody stole a Snicker bar because they were hungry, you're just a crazy, insane, deranged, wealthy person that's high on power. Anyway, so I call Noah and I ask him, like, what's going to happen? Because some heads have to roll. And the first thing he said was like, because he recognized a law firm in New York. And he's like, this is a very big law firm. Major people are talking about this is stupid. Like I said, moronic. Samantha Katz, you're an idiot. Okay. She made partner and she put it all on the line to help these people because, I don't know, maybe she felt cool. Maybe she went to dinner with them. Maybe she got Taylor Swift tickets. Somebody check her Instagram. I don't know what she did this for. Because most lawyers would be like, no, obviously I'm not going to risk my license. So he was telling me that there's this federal rule called Rule 11, which essentially it impacts attorneys. If an attorney knowingly signs off on a junky lawsuit, because they get into trouble because when they're signing off on any document, they're signifying to the courts that this lawsuit is legitimate, that it has legitimate legal contentions, it's not frivolous, etc. Right? And federal Rule 11 also outlines what those specific requirements are for signings, pleadings, and they can impose sanctions if a lawyer engages in bad conduct or bad faith. And an attorney can even lose their law license. So this, like I said, this is why they're hiding it. The courts take it extremely seriously because they want to deter this sort of conduct out of the courtroom. And so what he's saying is New York has a similar rule, which is known as Part 130, where the court can issue sanctions for attorneys or parties to frivolous conduct. And that's what they're being so hush hush about. Regarding Jennifer Abel, well, Jennifer Abel, I'll tell you what she's able to do. She can now go the criminal route if she'd like to. She effectively had her phone stolen by her employer under the guise of legitimacy in a state that does not play around with that, by the way. California has some very strong laws on the books for consumer privacy that protects employees. Your employer can't just go through your phone and take things because they want to. And I'm hearing that she's considering going that legal route, and I hope she does. I just need somebody to go to prison. I really do. And here's what I'll say in conclusion. If everyone had settled when I told them to, which just couldn't happen because everyone here involved is a narcissist, no one would be in this predicament, but no one ever listens to me. Also, I got to tell you guys really quickly before we get into some sponsors, somebody also pointed out to me like how long Ryan's been a psycho. Remember I read you that email that came in from his teacher who said like he had very serious issues when he was young and talked about how he got kicked out of this drama class and he would like fake cry and do all of these deranged things. Well, somebody dug up that Ryan also set his school on fire and bragged about it years later because he was in the high of everyone thinks Ryan is great and none of us kind of noticed he was a psychopath. And this is a real article that was published in the Arizona Daily Star. It says Ryan Reynolds is funny even when he's serious. And it tells the story of him reflecting on the fact that he first and foremost had flunked out of a high school drama class because he would ditch out. And he was working on all of his personal drama. I'm assuming that's related to his father because we've already confirmed that he had a lot of issues with his dad's. But he said that he really set fire to a tree. This is coming from Ryan. Admits he set fire to a tree, which led to the building catching on fire. And he said, no one found out that it was me. And I think the statute of limitations has run out. And I just hope that, I don't find out later that some poor schmo has spent time in jail for it. Not normal behavior. All I'm going to say. I'm telling you, that teacher was dead on. He said he was exhibiting characteristics when he was young, that he's a complete sociopath. And I think he just lies the whole time about things and he seeks to destroy people and things. And I should be concerned, but I'm not because I just see right through him. I think all of these people are absolute losers. That's what I'll say about that. Anyways, you guys, let's get into some advertisers. I absolutely love preborn. We live in a culture that tells women that motherhood is a burden, that choosing life is the end of their freedom, and that could not be more of a lie. Take it from me, okay? I'm perma-pregnant. Preborn is the nation's largest pro-life organization that stands for truth. They believe that women deserve better than abortion, and they're proving it every single day through free ultrasounds and compassionate care for up to 2 years after the baby is born. Preborn is helping women to see their strength, their value, their future, because when a woman sees her baby on the ultrasound that first time, she's twice as likely to choose life, not because someone forced her to, but because she can just see the truth for herself. You hear the heartbeat. It's about empowering women to make informed decisions and showing them that they're not going to be alone. If you'd like to give this amazing organization, you just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Also, if you are just growing in size like me, or just someone who values sleep in general, then you have to hear about Cozy Earth. It's another one of my favorite companies. I recently started using Cozy Earth's sheets, and I have never slept better. You definitely want to make sure that you're getting good rest, comfortable nights of sleep at nighttime when you are 9 months pregnant. These sheets are incredible. It's like sleeping on a cloud. They're made from super soft, breathable bamboo fabric that somehow keeps me cool at night when I'm running hot and warm. It's not just about bedding with Cozy Earth. They also have pajamas. They feel buttery soft. They don't cling if you're overheating. It's the kind of luxury that you don't know that you need, especially now. Plus, Cozy Earth is all about quality. You get a 10-year warranty and a 100-night sleep trial. So if you don't fall in love, which you are going to, don't worry, you can send them right back. Make sleep a priority right now. Visit cozyearth.com and use my exclusive code Candace, and you'll get 40% off Cozy Earth's best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Again, that's cozyearth.com, code Candace. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure you tell them that you heard about it right here on this show. All right, a sedevacante. Like I told you guys, that is Latin. The seat is vacant. What are we speaking about? Obviously, unless you have been under a rock, you have heard the news that Pope Francis has passed away. And the timing of this, it being Easter Monday. And obviously, there are a lot of reactions all over the internet. I will give you the facts. He had died at the age of 88 years old. Obviously, we knew Pope Francis was sick. He was history's first Latin American pope. He died just this morning. The bells tolled in the churches from his native Argentina. That's where he was from, to the Philippines, all across Rome. And it was reported that he passed away at 7:35 a.m. Now, like I said, there have been a lot of emotions about this, a lot of people that are commenting. And here's the reality. Here's what I was told. I feel ill-equipped to speak on the matter, and there are a lot of opinions, obviously more liberal to conservative opinions, people who were happy about the things that he did, people who were disappointed. When I was studying to become a Catholic, and I had these two cantankerous English priests that were lecturing me all the time, one of the things that they said was, when it comes to the Catholic family, there must always be an undercurrent of reverence. Obviously, this is the Pope that we're speaking about. And so you have to make sure that you're speaking about things respectfully. And I understood that as, in your family, sometimes when you're venting about someone like your sister, your cousin, my sister's this driving me crazy. But then like if your friends join in on chorus and they're like, your sister is this, you're like, don't talk about my sister like that, I think it's like one of those things where people should understand that the Pope, this is the Pope that we're speaking about, and it's a position that should be respected. And we look towards the future, pray for him, we pray for his soul, obviously. And there have been just so many tremendous things, by the way, that have been going on this year. And as we come out of the Lent season of penance and he is risen, I just cannot remark enough how much the church is growing, the Catholic Church is growing. And I'm talking about all across Europe. There seems to be this almost reactionary movement that's happening. And it's being reported in the mainstream media everywhere that people are being drawn specifically to the Latin liturgy, which is something, that he scaled back significantly while he was the Pope. And yet the opposite thing is happening where people are being drawn toward the Latin Church. And no sooner did I say this on Twitter than New York Post, or on X, whatever it's called, than the New York Post did an entire piece speaking about just that, about how all across the Southern Belt, you are seeing, and this is the title of the article, young people are converting to Catholicism in mass, driven by the pandemic, internet, and lax alternatives. And it is definitely a piece that is worth reading. If you have time, you can go find that. And they just spoke to like 4 different people who were being confirmed, or people who had converted away from Protestantism, and asked them what was drawing them. And it remarks on the fact that in some dioceses, like in Fort Worth, there's been a 75% increase. We're seeing the exact same thing in Nashville. We are noticing that Gen Z in general, overall, seems to be moving toward a more traditional lifestyle, whether you're talking about their interests in wanting to get married younger, very conscious about what they're eating, interested in farming, the fact that Ballerina Farm is such a big account on Instagram, and really what she's selling is a traditional lifestyle. The Gen Zers are definitely moving away, and to have so many new converts is a blessing. And to see that direction and what's contributing to that, I think, and this is again my opinion, feel free to dismiss it, is that we are realizing on a spiritual level that we need authority. And I think the 60s generation was all about like, let's just do whatever. My granddad always said the hippies ruined everything. And I think the ground was fertile when you want less structure. For, I guess what one person said to me, and it may have been my priest that I'm telling you about, my cantankerous English priest, who said, Protestantism was the original protest right? It was the original protest away from authority. You can agree with that. You cannot agree with that. I'd be interested to hear, because I know that so many Protestants listen to this. But I thought it was quite interesting to just kind of think about that, to think through that. And I was a Protestant, obviously, when I was hearing these words. And I thought, I never really thought about that. I never really thought about the word protest in that. But I think what's happened is the fruits of those seeds, so to speak, people are looking around and they're going, things are just seem out of control. It just seem out of control. And I realize that actually I do need authority and I do need structure. And I realize that even as a parent, like kids need authority, kids need structure. I need authority, I need structure, I need routine. And so when I see all these articles popping up about people, they're not just being driven to the Catholic faith, but being driven to the Latin Mass. That's the way that I read it. And like I said, I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think about it and whether or not you think it is a good thing. Whether you think America needs more Catholicism, or if you're anti, if you're like how I used to be 2 years ago. I can't judge you because I was literally Protestant, and you're thinking the Catholics worship Mary. I said all of these things, so I cannot dunk on you. Everybody has to find their own path and ask their own questions. But I can tell you that we absolutely do not worship Mary. It was one of the things that I thought as well. And then I realized I don't even know where I got that from, because I actually don't know anything about Catholicism. And now I'm interested to learn. Now I'm going to pivot here because I want to speak to you about Rosie. Listen to me. Roseanne, which we covered it, and I was lighthearted about it because I am kind of confused about Zionist arguments these days. And it seems like they've gone from trying to present arguments to now just being like, we're an authority. Anybody that has a disagreement here, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're fat and ugly. I think that's kind of now where we're at with Zionism. Like I think they're quite shocked and angry that they've somehow lost control of the debate when they had everything in their favor, meaning the money, the mainstream media, the influencers. There was no way they could lose the Israel debate. They had control over TikTok here, and yet something else is breaking through because of Joe Rogan and Ian Carroll and Candace Owens, who are just kind of speaking to people and listening. And so we're once again back in this rhythm where it feels like COVID again, where we're being lectured by people who can't just present a moral argument and instead are being angry. And nobody was more angry than Roseanne when she said that she was going to F me up. I don't know if we still have that clip. Do we have that? Let's play what she said again.
What's her take on Candace Owens?
Monster. If I see the I'll knock her the out. She's an Islamist. Everything she says is straight out of it. It obviously comes down to this. She's taking the Qatari money. Hello.
I wish.
There's nothing else.
Where do you think this came from? Because she obviously used to be...
She's getting paid by Jews, so she was doing that number. But I think when she got fired for being a Jew hater, and she is a Jew hater on every level, and from medieval times with her blood libel bullshit and all.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's just like it doesn't get me excited. I just don't feel angry when I hear that, because it's just, to me, it's all they say. You're taking Qatari money. Okay, it's not true. So we're just going to keep lying and saying F you. And the person she's sitting across from tweeted out the clip and wrote, F you, Candace. Okay, F me. You're so cool. It's, I don't know, kids in middle school trying out bad words. It's not an argument. It lets you know that we've won in terms of just speaking humanely about kids being blown up in Gaza. It's that simple. And we're happy to do that. Anyways, I obviously, we kind of didn't respond beyond just saying, okay. And then I showed you that she then apologized behind the scenes, and she then wrote this on Twitter. I think it was on Friday night. She said, "It's not fake to apologize. I felt bad for threatening violence, not for being upset by your words. But since we are in public now, let me share the remainder of the DM that you left out," which is a bit fake to leave out the entire message. So I just wanted to show you, I don't know what her angle was here, trying to pretend that we intentionally cut off her message. We didn't. We actually weren't even going to cover her. And I'm going to show you my text message to my producer. We do this show. We do this show at 3 p.m. live every day. We made the decision to cover Rosie at 2:38 p.m. And I sent him 2 screenshots. I sent him the first one and not the second. So it doesn't even matter. The second part of her DM doesn't change the fact that she apologized to me. But she then shared the entirety of her DM, which just ends with her saying that her children are scared. because of the environment. Here's the text message I sent to my, you can literally look at the time here. Um, uh, I can't, I think 2:21 p.m. Yeah, right there at the top, Thursday, 2:21 p.m. So we go live at 3. It was a last second, decision to cover it. Roseanne, nobody was plotting. We don't plot. We just do the show. And anyways, she, I guess that was her rebuttal. Like, you cut off the end of at the end of my apology where I said that my children were scared. It's irrelevant because your children are like 40 years old. Like, I don't even understand. And, she's expressing that she's very scared. And this kind of is the rhetoric that they keep going back to. It's a very scary time to be a Jewish person in America. Well, it's also a really scary time to be a child or a mother right now in Gaza. So what are you afraid of? Words, a conversation, a debate? They're having bombs dropped on them. Anyways, here's the full rest of her message, the second part that got cut off, just so she knows that we were not doing it on purpose. It's just completely irrelevant. She said, you're going to get to the second page that I accidentally cut off. I am very triggered by your comments. I admit that. I won't pretend that I'm not. But woman to woman, this entire thing really is something that two bold-ass BITCHs should come together on one day and try to work out for our entire people or party or whatever we are in. Praying for you in your latest blessing that your delivery is perfect. My children and grandchildren are all I think about, and that's why I get so scared for them. I can see the entire world coming for them. They're just dorky Jewish kids and don't know what's going on. We are all don't know what's going on in the world because of constant worldwide critique against Israel. We are all starting to get scared. I fear for their safety. Your kids don't live in Israel. I don't even understand this argument. Anyways, like I said, it's just irrelevant. She's just talking about her family being fearful because people don't support Israel. And we certainly did not mean to cut that off, Rosie. So people can go pursue that. I accepted her apology because why not accept her apology? Like I said, none of this bothers me. I don't think it helps their arguments to be angry and to be threatening to F people up. And I'm going to continue to say what I have to say about the nation of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. I feel completely, resigned to the fact that I am standing on the side of morality, and you don't get to blow up kids while saying that you're fearful if people don't support you blowing up kids because your 40-year-old children are scared. Like, I don't have to support Israel. And by the way, linking that to, I would wonder how Protestant faiths that are very married to Israel as a state, if that also had something to do with politically, with people saying, oh, I don't know about, thinking that I have to, we accuse Catholics of worshiping Mary. Do we worship Bibi Netanyahu? We have to just say all of this is okay. I wonder if some people, on top of other reasons, might have seen a bit of hypocrisy to be so pro-life, but to refuse to see the amount of death that's happening here or to continue to justify it. It should be an ongoing discussion. It would be really interesting to see, I guess, just to have a table discussion with Protestants and Catholics and to observe the trends and to assess whether or not they're all happening, if there's any correlation whatsoever. Anyways, before I get to some of your comments, I'm first going to tell you about Jacked Up Fitness, because there's a fitness revolution happening in America and people everywhere are making fitness a priority again. I can't wait till I can go back to lifting the amount of weight that I used to be able to lift. That's why I'm excited to be working up with Jacked Up Fitness. Their flagship product, which is the Jacked Up Power Rack Pro, has everything that you need to get a full body workout from home. The cable crossover system, integrated 200-pound weight stacks, and a Smith machine allow you to do hundreds of exercises. Basically everything that you can do at the gym, you can now do at home. And now my family is getting our own Power Rack Pro. We are so excited to have this awesome all-in-one gym in our home. George and I can't wait to hit it. If you're new to strength training, their Get Jacked Up program has full body video workouts led by celebrity trainers like Kim Leone and Clark Bartram. You literally just press play, follow along, go get jackedup.com. Go to getjackedup.com, and sign up to access the program right now for free. And when you're ready to order, you can order your own Power Rack Pro. You'll save 10% off if you use my promo code Candace. Again, just head to getjackedup.com to get started today. Also, as always, reminding you guys about American financing, because with so much happening in the economy, it feels like we're all walking on shaky ground. Prices are high. It seems like nothing is affordable right now. It's no wonder that there are so many people that are consistently relying on credit cards. Well, credit card debt is skyrocketing and it's leaving a lot of people stressed out. So If you are a homeowner, you do not have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home to help you pay down that high interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real savings. On average, people are saving $800 a month. That's a lot of money. Plus, they can close your loan in as little as 10 days. So do not let the chaos of this economy get the best of you. Call American Financing now. It costs nothing to get started. You might even be able to delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you a cushion in this uncertain time. So call 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. It's americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, what do you guys have for me today in the comments section? Be nice. Very interesting discussions today. 1984, Truth Speak, that's a great name, writes, poor Blake Lively. She's under the Candace Owens microscope. It must be worse than a tax audit. I will audit someone's life if they're doing bad stuff. That's my thing. I don't just like go after nice people, right? I just don't like bullies, and I hate white collar bullies. That's what we're calling them, white collar bullies, because they have the money to bully people and to call lawyers and stuff. And this update is insane. I mean, it's just insane that Stephanie Jones was like, I can do stuff that might be criminal because I have the contacts to do that. That's how I read it. This next person writes, traditional Latin mass all the way. Love you, girl. Yeah, my cantankerous English priest. I was like, should I start going to the English until I understand? And he was like, nope, start right with the Latin. And it was a lot. But you know what I have to say about that? It was also really nice to be uncomfortable again. I feel like as we get older, we don't want to challenge ourselves. We don't want to be uncomfortable. Like, you don't want to have that first day of school feeling. And that's how I felt. Like, it was like first day of kindergarten. And when you go into a Latin mass, it's so overwhelming. Everyone's speaking Latin. And I didn't even know how to use the missal because it doesn't just go in order. You have to flip through. I didn't know anything. The missal has it. The missal essentially is you have the prayers and the lessons, the epistle in English and also in Latin, but you have to go backwards and forward. And I just didn't want to go through that. And then once I started going through it, I was like, this is actually nice to not know something and to learn something new. And then you feel so great as you just become more and more familiar. And so I want to encourage you that you don't not do something because you're going to be uncomfortable. It's cool to have the first day of school jitters. And like I said, a year on now, my baptism actually was almost a year to this date. It was April 15th of last year. I feel like I know much more and still know nothing, but I know much more and I'm not uncomfortable anymore. Zachary Bendixson writes, I spent my entire life, I'm 45, supporting Israel. I think due to government education and mainstream media. Same. I definitely supported Israel because of that. He writes, this recent war, mass murder of women and children changed that, thanks to people like you and Ian, Dave, Finkelstein, Tucker, etc. Yeah, and that's why they're so angry. They're angry that common sense is prevailing. I'm not here trying to propagandize you. I'm not being funded by any side of this war. I am just being moral and principled. And people who are being moral and principled are responding to that and wondering, why did we support this nation? And it is absolutely true to say government education played a role in that and the mainstream media. And I would also tack on Hollywood, where we felt there, there's so many movies about the Holocaust. And so as soon as someone says October 7th happened, we have this trigger reaction of, we can never allow that to happen while we're the adults. And then things just went way too far, I think. And a lot of us went, okay, this is now happening, but it's not happening to the Israelis. It's happening to the Gazans. And we are allowing it to happen again on our watch. We just never imagined a scenario where it would be executed by the Israeli side. That's how I feel, at least. I don't mean to speak for you. Angela Lemos writes, speaking of deceitful hoes, Blake, help us pray because in my area, a gang got a hold of an officer in order to harm him. They stole my identity in order to do it. Since I'm a police supporter, it happened in San Jose in an area close to a church. Not sure I fully understand that comment. So I'm sorry if I fumbled the ball in reading that. ABA writes, without a crystal ball, discovered the subpoena. Daily Mail printed without credit after. Keep up the good work. People are saying that this mommy sleuth, which is called Without a Crystal Ball, producer is giving us some context here. Without a Crystal Ball is the one who discovered the subpoena. Daily Mail printed it without credit after. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Daily Mail does it the whole time. So as soon as I saw Daily Mail had it, I should have known that they took it from somebody else, because that's what they do, and they never credit. And it's so crappy. So just give Without a Crystal Ball credit. Congratulations, Without a Crystal Ball, for discovering that subpoena. It was wild. Actually, it's not the subpoena, it's the lawsuit, the Van Zandt lawsuit. We still don't have a subpoena. Stephanie Jones is keeping that tight. And I think, like I said, it's because then they can go after the law firm. And they did her a huge favor, her or Ryan or Blake, a huge favor, which we'll probably be able to sleuth and find what that relationship is, because it's a really silly one for a legal firm to put it all on the line, especially one that has such a big reputation. Madison writes, can you do an episode and go into detail on why you converted to Catholicism? I remember my very Irish grandma praying to Mary. I am Protestant. What am I missing? I think a good starting place for you. I never feel, because I'm only a year into my journey, that I have the educational and the theological background to do that. My husband does. He literally was Protestant. He was Anglican his entire life, very devout, until he studied theology at Oxford, and then he was drawn towards the Catholic faith. There's a saying, an expression, that to become a student of history means to become a Catholic, and I can tell you that I understand that. The more I started looking into history, I suddenly went, wow, America is very new, and there is a lot that we are missing here, and I felt very compelled towards, and I was honestly deciding I was going to go Orthodox or I was going to go Catholic. So I had to sit down with my cantankerous priests, and I was like, why shouldn't I be Orthodox? I was very on the fence, but I knew that I was done with Protestantism. And, but a great debate, actually. My husband had a debate with Allie Stuckey, who's lovely. I really like Allie. Disagree with her on a lot of points, but she is genuinely a really lovely person, and she's always been very respectful. Even if we have disagreements, like she's a good person. And that was a turning point for me. And I remember when they were debating, you can still find this on YouTube. I think you could find it on YouTube. I hope the Daily Wire might have taken it down, but if you should be able to find it on, if not on YouTube, you should be able to find it on Rumble. I think My Daily Wire channel is still up on Rumble. So if you go to rumble.com, and to hear that conversation, it definitely, I just thought, okay, I think there's a little more history here. And I just became Catholic curious, I would say, after that conversation. And there are a lot of elements, and I can speak about it loosely, but I don't feel ready yet, if that makes sense. I know I sound like a child, but I do still very much feel like a child, like I'm in elementary school when it comes to Catholic faith. And because of who I am, people are not used to that side of me. They're like ready to, I'm going to debate every point of this. And I'm not there. I'm just not there yet. I'm very new, but I know that I'm home. Like, I definitely know what was wrong with my viewpoints before, which I feel were actually more political than they were spiritual. Farhad writes, Christ is King being targeted just like Allah was targeted post 9/11. Something to think about. What are your thoughts on that pattern? My thoughts on the Christ is King debate fully is they've lost it. So I hopefully next year, Lent, everyone just lets it go and just allows people to say Christ is King and stop trying to pretend that it's like, some conspiracy theory. It's never going away. And by the way, I will say this, just tacking on to the discussion we just had, I was very shocked at how many Protestants were willing to buy the like Christ is King narrative, far right, and they were like writing like, oh, it could sometimes be offensive. The Orthodox and the Catholics were like, nope, goodbye. We're saying Christ King. You're not telling me, you're not going to tell me this is not a word. Like the way they defend their faith and don't allow it to be politicized or allow people to try to trick them in certain ways, let me know that there was a structure there and an authority there that was not about bending to the times, which I find to be very admirable. Laura writes, I believe I may have found the real Walter Pasternak. I sent everything to your tips email address. Thank you. That's a great place to end this episode, because I also didn't tell you that the original Pasternak, Joe Pasternak's son, somebody who knows him very well, reached out and gave us some information about the Pasternak family. Namely, they said there was a Lucy Pasternak, but she wasn't in the Holocaust, that Harley is not an official relative, and also that they may have had a sister. Like Emperor Roscoe, who was Joe Pasternak's son, was like, we maybe had a sister, but at those times, like during that time, you didn't talk about those things. So when dad stepped out and maybe got somebody else pregnant, you didn't speak about those things, which I actually tend to believe. So yeah, like I said, all of these people, Harley Pasternak, everyone's just very excited for me to go and have this baby because I'm not letting anything go. But I'm going to be back, so you can't get rid of me forever. But you guys can enjoy a little bit of a break, I suppose. Anything else? Other than that, you guys support our show. Head to the website. Tons of content that you can find there. Vaccine series is a must for parents. Wait until we get into the birth control series. I will never allow my daughter to go on birth control after learning what I've learned about the history of birth control. Big Pharma is an evil, satanic entity that is established to make us all sick. That is my conspiracy theory for the day, and I am sticking to it. But yeah, sign up to support the show. You can also buy some gear. You can head to clubcandace.com or just go to candaceowens.com. It's a very easy way to support the work that we do. Other than that, you guys, we'll see you tomorrow.